1, 2. Simkin. Who hates Simkin? She hates Simkin. He hates Simkin. I hate Simkin. You hate Simkin. She hates Simkin. We hate Simkin. Who hates Simkin? I hate Simkin. They
All right,
hate
hello
Simkin.
everybody out there. So another episode of I Hate Simkin today. We could have subtitled it Two Old Stoners, but maybe we should subtitle it Two Old Stoners.
Harold and Kumar try and remember what happened 30 years ago.
Something like that. But today's guest is a dear old friend of mine, Dave Genn. Dave, how are you?
Excellent. I'm a little confused as to why I'm here because I don't hate Simkin.
You know, it's funny you say it because in the first few episodes, I felt the need to address the title. And I think with that Mike Kruger one, I think was the first one we did. And funny enough, he's the reason for the name.
Yes, I know this story.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know that story.
He used to wear that T-shirt at the MMVAs.
Yeah.
And, I originally, I think in my brain, it was like, it's about why am I a polarizing character? But I don't want to talk about myself or that every episode. So we talked about it 2 episodes and I'm done. I'm done with that particular topic.
Okay. Well, I'll stick to the.
But
I'll stick to the I love Simkin.
Okay, there you go. It's just a reference to the fact that I seem to be a bit of a polarizing character. And you would agree with that, wouldn't you? What, you think I'm more than a bit polarizing?
I think you have polarized
Well, why do you think that is?
because you speak truth to power. And, you've always worked sort of outside of the traditional Ontario industry, not just by location, but also how you run your business. So as a result, I think probably some established members of the industry find that threatening.
That's really interesting. And that's probably true. Yeah, okay. Well, there I was not wanting to talk about myself, and then I ended up talking about myself. But
I thought that's what we're here for. I hate, it's not called I Hate Genn. Oh, that's a different podcast.
that is a different podcast. But here's how I thought I would start it. I have a little gift for you.
Oh.
I thought I would start it. It might be something to talk about as well. I have.
Is it a check? Is it a check? Is
It's
it a
not
check?
a check. You get those from us twice a year. This isn't the time.
Oh, look at that.
I got Dave. Dave produced, I think, everything but one song on here. Two
There's
songs on here were produced by some other person who we won't mention.
Uncle Chad.
Uncle Chad. I'm just kidding, Chad. We'll mention you. But then Dave produced the rest of it. And we just did a 20th anniversary re-release. This is the Armchair Cynics Killing the Romance EP, which has now kind of been turned into an album because we've added some bonus tracks.
Nice.
So here you go. That's for you.
I hear it's special inside. Is that true?
Well, it's pink vinyl.
Oh, this I got to see.
And we did that especially for you because we heard you really like pink.
I do love pink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not as much as Josh, but I do love pink.
Let me
Wow.
tell you.
That is some
Even
fantastic.
Pink herself wouldn't have an album that pink. About a year ago, give or take, we did a bit of a spring cleaning around here. And because I was walking around the studio one day and went, we have all these boxes of hard drives. Like, God knows what's on there. Like, there could be stuff that's actually of some value. And that was an understatement. We found all sorts of unreleased gems. And one of the things we found was a bunch of unreleased Armchair Cynics masters, including a song called, it was originally called Picky, but now it's called A Moment Like This.
Yeah.
Which might have been a mistake because there's a really famous song, A Moment Like This, which I didn't realize when we all were by who? It's like by a female artist. Anyway, so, I heard it and went, oh my God, why was this not on the album? And the funny thing is, no one seems to be able to remember why it wasn't on the album. Do you remember why specifically?
No, I talked to Ken about this. You sent it to me. I went, hey, this is pretty good. Why didn't it make the EP?
And it was mixed. It was fully mixed.
Fully mixed, yeah.
By our friend Warren Livesey. And
it got held back for some reason.
Which, funny that it didn't come up when we were making Starting Today, which was a follow-up album. It's like, oh, hey, we've got this great track that's left over from, but nope. It just, anyways, maybe it was a blessing in disguise because, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, that's going on the record. And then we found a bunch of others. Like, that wasn't even the only thing we found. We found an entire album's worth of demos. So not masters, although because one of the members of the band is a producer in his own right, a good one, Adam Sutherland, they sound good. Like they don't sound like rough demos. I mean, maybe they do a little, but they're quality to the point where I told the band, if you want to put them out, if you're cool with it, I would proudly put it out, and we're putting it out. So later this year. And you didn't work on any of those though, did you?
I don't think so. I mean, Adam was demoing for the second record starting today, and there were many more tracks than what we ended up recording. So
and definitely some of those were from that.
Yes, for sure.
But just so that it's clear, when we put it out, you don't get royalties. You get nothing.
I wouldn't expect anything else from you, Simkin.
And I would expect you to somehow make a claim about it.
Yeah, okay, well.
I don't know. I don't remember specifically, but I mean,
I'll get my lawyer to sue you.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
When you look back at your career, I mean, if you have a long career in this business, you have far more misses than you do hits.
Correct.
And what would you consider your most
Unless you're Simkin.
Oh, nothing but hits, eh?
Nothing but hits here.
Yeah, okay. I'll start throwing some names out.
All right. I can't hear you.
What would you say is your bigged disappointment?
In terms of bands I've signed that didn't?
Where you said, yeah, this is going to go. This is going to go.
Armchair Cynics, hands down.
Number one.
No, and I've said it in interviews. When we had our 20th anniversary of the label a couple years ago, that came up. Not disappointment. I'm going to rephrase that a little bit. It was the one where, I really felt like they had everything. Great songs, first and foremost. Great live. Good looking singer. It really felt like all the pieces were there. But after all these years, of course, I'm also conscious of the fact that there's a lot of elements that go into it that have nothing to do with how good the music is. Luck would be one of those things. And circumstance, those are things that also impact it. And in the case of this band, it was kind of a circumstance thing because, one of the members had a kid and felt an obligation, understandably, to make that the first priority. And so certain opportunities were turned down, and that kind of killed it. So I understand why it didn't go all the way. That doesn't make it less disappointing that it didn't. Because I think the music is great, and I think here we are 20 years later, and it still sounds great. I think the album you made with them is incredible. I think there's 3 or 4 songs on there. I mean, the whole album's good, but like there's 3 or 4 songs on there that to this day I listen to a lot and still impact me when I listen to them a lot. The title song, Starting Today, which I think is just Ken is such a good lyric writer. And I mean, it's a song about redemption, a song about fresh starts, that I'll still listen to and be inspired by, 20 years later. So the art stands up, and that matters to me too. Yeah, it's sure nice to have a Call Me Maybe. Of course. I mean, that's why we're in this building, because of Call Me Maybe. But it's not like I sit there and go, oh, it didn't sell X number of copies, therefore, I don't like it, or I'm ashamed of it, or, I'm very, very proud of both those records. I think they both are great. And that's the thing that's interesting about art, right? I mean, once it's out forever. Maybe 30 years after I'm dead, somebody's gonna cover one of those songs,
Yeah, you never know the life. You never know. Band. I mean, with the energy you're putting behind the band right now, I've gone back and revisit. I never listen to stuff that I've done. I make it and I turn the page. Particularly stuff that I produce, because when you produce something, you listen to it a million times. You know every nuance. By the time you've made it, it's like, okay, we put that away. And I might not listen to something for 20 years. I had not listened to this EP. I had not listened to the album. And with the energy behind the band recently, I've listened to both through. And in both cases, right after I listened to each one, I called Ken right away and said, wow, what happened? Like I commended him on his lyrics. I said, the words are amazing.
Yeah.
You can hear the care that we put into every nuance of it. Starting Today is, I mean, it feels a little overproduced in spots, but that's kind of the time. You know, we were up against modern rock bands, which were highly layered, and so as a result, the production is quite. You know, I wouldn't produce it like that now, but you can hear the care and the love that we put into it, and it also, you know, it makes you a little sad that it didn't do better in the marketplace. I blame the label.
Thank you. But you know, most things underperform and most things don't do well. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. And you know, it's funny, when I was preparing for the re-release of the record, I went back, and for the podcast I did with them, I went back and was looking at some of the radio play. It got more radio play than I remembered. Like, I was like, oh, like, which actually kind of made me feel better. I was kind of like, you know what? For me, it felt like such a BC phenomena, but it really wasn't. I mean, it was, but because they were really big in Victoria, in their hometown, and they still mean something there 20 years later. But it got played all the way across the country. I mean, Bang and Coal Mine both charted nationally. And I had sort of forgotten that. I was kind of like, you know, I have less of a memory about the second album for some reason. I don't know why but I think they were sort of imploding when it all sort of, and that was kind of, when that happens, and you've been in the middle of that in some of your bands, I've been in the middle of that as a manager and as a label guy. That's one of the toughest things ever, is like, you've made something beautiful. And especially when, you know, like I think of something like The Organ, who just won the Polaris. Did you see that? Which I, you know, 20 years later, and we went up, the label wins its first Polaris award. I'm like, that's unbelievable to me. I was very happy about it. But even though I generally think the awards are stupid, but
until you receive one.
No, because we've received a lot and I still don't, you know, but that one was there's a lot of history on that one.
Of course. I look forward to that I Hate Simkin podcast.
I don't know if there will be one. I mean, I'd love to get one of them on, but I can't imagine any of them doing it, you know, and who else would I talk to? I mean, I could maybe get one of the Mint guys to talk about it. I'm doing one with Grant Lawrence, and there's a place where I'll probably talk about The Organ a fair bit. But the reason I brought them up was simply like when they imploded, my recollection is they had both a Coachella and a Glastonbury offer, and and then they imploded, and it's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, it was stupid. But I'm looking at the album. It's starting today. I mean, Ablaze remains a great like listen. Starting today, The World Is Mine, and the song that might be my favorite Armchair Cynics song ever, which is Can't Sleep. Which is a mellow, sad but tender. It's not sad. It's more tender, I guess is the better word for it. It makes you think of my kids for some reason, even though I think it's more about romantic relationship.
Yeah. But
it still makes me in a weird kind of way think about my kids, like when they'd be upset when they were little and you tell them, oh, just come into bed with us. And, you know, anyways, I'm very proud of those records. I'm very happy that they're having a little bit of a renaissance. We even made a new video for Ablaze. I don't know if you saw that. I'm so sorry for a moment like this.
Yeah, I was going to say the Ablaze video is amazing.
Yeah, and my bad. What we did do was upscale the Ablaze video.
Yeah.
Not to get too self-promotional, but we do have a new section of the website, of the YouTube channel on 604 called 604 Restored, where we've been restoring old videos using AI technology. I'm not a big AI guy, but you know what? That has been amazing to take some of these, because you know what videos look like from that era. They look like and now we've been able to upscale them, and I love it. We did Thornley, The Organ, Marianas Trench, Armchair Cynics, and we're going to be continuing to do those. All right, I want to move on from Armchair. So you and I have known each other a long time. I was trying to remember how. It might have been Matthew Goodman, but I feel like it was maybe either through Natasha Dupre. Like we knew people in common.
Were you not involved with art?
Okay, so Art Bergman, there's a great place to start. So for those who don't know, Art Bergman is a recipient of the Order of Canada. Why don't we start with that? Art is a guy from White Rock, I think, originally.
White Rock Langley, yeah.
And is a very highly respected singer, songwriter, musician. He had and has a interesting career. You know, he's an older guy now. He's got to be probably 10 years older than us-ish or more.
Art is 72.
He's 72. So more or less your age, but I'm much younger.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can tell by...
You can tell.
Yeah.
Art Bergman's an interesting one. And I think I've talked about him on another podcast, but what was interesting for me about Art was that I was a fan before I was in the music business.
Mhm.
I was a fan of him in high school. And so I'll never forget, I had an office that you'll remember on Hastings, in the Dominion building. And I remember the first day Art walked in. It's intimidating because he's a big guy. He's a tall guy, right?
Yes.
Like 6'2".
Yeah.
And I'm not a tall guy. And I remember just being struck by that, but also like, it's funny. I've met a lot of famous people in my life, but that may have been one of the most impactful ones where partly because it was early in my career. Now meeting famous people, I couldn't give I mean, you meet so many famous people. Well, it turns out they're just human beings like the rest of us. At the time, it didn't seem that way. They seemed superhuman to me because I had worshipped this guy. I mean, I'd been to his shows. I had listened. I bought the records. I listened to the music. It's like, oh my God, I am working with Art Bergman. It seems surreal to me. But Matthew Goodman's, I think, where I actually got to know you. I mean, you had already been in the music business. You were in bands. You were, I was new still at that point. But the one thing we definitely had in common was that was the first big success in the music business for either of us.
Yes. I mean, I'd had the experience of going through a couple of major label cycles with Art.
But people weren't recognizing you on the street for that.
No.
And they sure were after the Matthew Goodman thing.
Well, the lead guitarist doesn't get recognized nearly as much as you would expect. It's always the singer, right?
I guess that's true. But it was like, hey, that's the guy in the video who's got like girly arms. Did you ever get that? This is a look. I don't know if it'll be on video. This is a look I've had from Dave for years. It's a similar look that I get from Chad sometimes, from Cassie.
Maybe your wife.
My wife from time to time when I say something that's so stupid that it's kind of beyond comment.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that
kind of a little slack-jawed and
it's slack-jawed.
A subtle shake of the head.
But yeah, exactly.
How has this guy gotten this far?
That's right.
That's the look.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know myself, but yeah, but I mean, that was sort of a big like, and there's certain milestones of that I remember. I mean, I remember like those early shows when it was blowing up because it happened quickly. It happened in Vancouver quickly because of Seeds and because of Last of the Ghetto Astronauts.
Mm-hmm.
So you followed a similar pattern to say Nickelback, Default, where you became stars in your own city before you became stars everywhere else, because we weren't signed with Last of the Ghetto Astronauts. That was an independent record that Michael McCarty paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But Fox played the living out of it.
Yes.
And suddenly, look at that. We can play shows locally that people are coming.
Yeah, I mean, the way I remember it was that we sold 20,000 copies of Last of the Ghetto Astronauts, and every copy was sold within earshot of the Fox.
I had Tal Hancock on the podcast last week. So we talked about that a fair bit too, about Seeds and about Matthew Goodband. And
yeah, and how Fox supported local bands and took up a lot of their CanCon quota with local unsigned acts. Independent acts.
Those are the days.
Yeah, don't happen no more.
I mean, look, the Peak supports and Fox still supports. They're paying the crap out of Theon, which God bless them, and Hotel Mira and Fake Shark.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's so much that they don't support anymore and just that it's maybe radio.
It just doesn't mean as much.
Well, radio doesn't mean what it did then. It still means a lot, but it doesn't mean the same thing.
People have alternatives. How does it work now?
Something goes viral online. It may or may not have a label attached to it. And things often get played that are just sort of independent records. I mean, in part because there just aren't as many major label signings because the money's not there. I mean, it just is a different business now. Mm-hmm. So I think it's easier for indie labels and indie artists to get played on the radio now than it was. But you're also right that it matters less now too. You can have a career and never get played on the radio now. That was not really the case when there were a few bands who were exceptions to that, who like Gwar. I mean, never got played on the radio, but what a touring business, right? They had a rabid fan base. They could make money touring all over the world.
I mean, the best example of that era is Metallica, right?
Who didn't get radio either.
Until the Black Album.
Yep. And they had a huge business of touring.
Yeah. Biggest cult band in the world.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, but I mean, but for me, Matthew Goodman it wasn't my first success, but it was my first. I mean, it's funny how you gauge these things, but I'd run into people from high school, and I was already a good 15 years out of high school at that point. It's like, oh, what are you doing these days? I'm in the music business, I'm entertainment lawyer. Oh, anybody I might know? And I say Matthew Good Band. It's like, you work with a Matthew Good Band? Like, it was that kind of a thing. And it was the first time for me where it was something like that. Right. And so, we probably don't want to talk. I don't know how much you want to talk about Matthew Good Band. I know there are things about it that weren't the most fun for you. Let's put it that way. It wasn't the best experience of your life. And in some ways, it wasn't the best experience of my life. But were it not for that band, I'm not sure that the rest of my career unfolds the way. I mean, there were direct consequences and indirect consequences. Direct consequences. Holly McNarland picking up the phone. Hey, I was talking to Matt Good, and like, she says you're a great lawyer, and I should, okay, well, there's all of a sudden I had a second client that people gave a about, right? Mm-hmm. And indirectly, in a sense that, this is a funny business, and you end up building a reputation based on what you work with, who you've thrown your support behind. And I've been lucky that I've often thrown my support behind things that ended up doing well.
Whether you want to admit it or not, you made relationships with the success of that band as well that
Absolutely.
that have carried you through. And I certainly recognize that in my career, is that I forged relationships in the 6-year life of that band that have helped me throughout my career since.
The career of the band itself was interesting in a sense that, once Automatic for the People, so we ended up signing.
Automatic for the People, that'd be great if we made that record.
Or sorry, I meant to say Automatic for the People. God, I meant to say Everything's Automatic, and I actually meant to say, what was the album? Underdogs. Underdogs was sort of the album that really put it into a different sort of atmosphere.
That band would do 5 at the Commodore and 2 at the Vogue. We would do stretches like that,
right?
But we were, our last tours were also in the rinks. We played our Canada Center.
And won Junos, and there's all that as well. And that's a funny memory I have, which is I was involved in a lawsuit against Sarah McLachlan, not me personally, but my client was, and very famous case. It was in the news on an almost daily basis for a long time, and we very famously lost. So amongst my accomplishments are losing a lawsuit to Sarah McLachlan. Mm-hmm. I remember that the year you won, you guys probably won more than one Juno, but I remember when you won, like, either for the album of the year, it was probably Beautiful Midnight.
Rock album and Best Group.
Best Group. And this was right when all the Sarah McLachlan stuff was in the news. And I remember that, I can't remember where the Junos were that year. Do you remember? Toronto? And I remember Sarah was sitting right in like the front row, and the Juno for the best album goes to Matthew Good Band, and Matthew said his thank yous, and you stared straight ahead. This is my recollection, at least. You stared straight ahead and really made a point of thanking me. And I remember, it's the little things, but it meant a lot. Like, it was like, because it was, you were thanking me, which is great, but you were doing it right in front of Canada's Sweetheart. And you almost seemed to have a little bit of punk rock about the whole thing. Am I remembering that wrong?
Well, you do remember one aspect of it wrong. Matt didn't attend.
Why?
He was against the idea of trophies.
I bet he took his trophy.
I don't know. Yeah, and when I gave up and got up and gave the speech, I said, I know what you're all wondering. Where's Matt? The truth is, he was horribly burned by Prozac's pyro, and he's backstage in the Mediterranean.
That was a joke?
Yeah, that was the joke. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I really don't remember that. Wow. And I will say this too. A lot of the worst things about the music business, I also learned with that experience. Yeah. Again, I don't know how deep we want to do a dive, but Matt was not the easiest guy to work with. That's a bit of an understatement. And he wouldn't say differently. I've actually talked to him recently, and he kind of acknowledged that. And we could sit here and debate the reasons and what role did mental health play in it. But putting all that aside, at the time, it was kind of horrible because you never really knew how he was going to react to things. And with the success came weird pressures from all sorts of different angles. And I think another turning point in the whole thing was when he went with Ray Daniels for management, because I think Ray, Boy, this is one of those hard ones where it's like, I'm sitting here going, A, who am I going to offend? B, am I going to get sued? You know, it's like, there's so many different elements to it where I don't want to say something that's going to, but, you know, let's just say that in my opinion, just an opinion, that management team didn't help the situation in terms of the interpersonal relationships between the band members, between the relationship between me and the band. I think that it exacerbated some of the worst aspects of it. And it was kind of the beginning of the end, in a way, even though initially, when we hired them, we were sort of most of the way through Underdogs.
We hired them as we were going into the studio to record Beautiful Midnight.
Okay, because I was interim managing with Christy.
That's right.
When poor Frank Weipert got let go just before Apparitions, because that's when I remember stepping in and kind of being like, I remember having meetings with the label about that video. They hated the video, and I had to advocate for Matt and da 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 da. Okay, so they took over at Beautiful Midnight. I have a very distinct memory of flying out to Toronto with you and Matt to meet managers. I remember we met with Jake Gold. You and I have had a giggle about that once or twice. And I have no ill will towards Jake, but at this point in my career, I have at times, but not at this point in my life. But
I'm looking forward to the podcast
with me and Jake.
Yeah,
I wonder if that would happen. I bet he would do it.
Well, he hates Simkin.
I don't know if he does anymore. I think we're sort of, you know, I wrote that story for Billboard, and I know he really, he didn't love everything in the story, but it got a lot of discussion going between him and I.
Sure did, yeah.
Because he's been very involved in that stuff. And I'm writing another story about that, and I'm definitely going to run it by him before I sort of publish it. Underdogs put you on the map. Couple of big hits. Apparitions was a very big hit, but so was Everything's Automatic. I mean, that was a big hit. That was a first single. And that video, Matt and Bill Morrison had such a amazing synchronicity between the two of them and the band. I mean, that video worked. It was unusual. It was like not like other things. I mean, that song to my ears still sounds great. And I hear that song once in a while on the sort of
still gets
classic
play.
alt radio or whatever they call it.
Play.
Still sounds great. You know, that sort of puts everybody on a map. And then Beautiful Midnight just blew the whole thing wide open. I mean, I remember very distinctly you calling me. It was a tour, and it was the beginning of a tour, probably the first Beautiful Midnight tour. And I was like, what are you doing? I could hear a bunch of noise. So what are you doing? You said, I'm on the roof of our hotel. There's fans out front. Like, it's insanity. Or maybe it was the club. There's fans. It's like, there's a lineup. I can't even see the end of the lineup. Like, this thing's really blowing up. I think it was like that first moment where we were both like, oh my God, like this is really turning into a monster in a good way initially. It's exciting. But throughout the course of that cycle, I guess, you know, some of the ugliness started to show itself as well. I mean, it's your story. Maybe you could talk about what you're comfortable talking about, but.
Well, I mean, that band was not equipped for success and was always going to have a shelf life. Ray Daniels managing or not, I don't think there's a manager in the country or the world that would have been able to keep that band together.
Okay, that's fair.
So you can put it on our management decision if you want, but from where I sit, I always felt that it was the project was doomed, and I recognized that it was not a band that was going to be able to climb down the ladder gingerly, slowly, and gracefully. You know, a career is such that you have those halcyon days of the rise, climbing the ladder, and maybe you get to blow up. Maybe you're lucky enough to blow up like we did. But if you're going to have a career, it means that you have to learn how to climb down that ladder slowly, gingerly, gracefully. And we were not equipped for that.
Yeah, true. And then weird tragedy started happening. And like, when does Jeff Lloyd die? Where in the whole process?
Oh, band was well broken up by then.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. Band.
But he left then. He left
the band before Beautiful Midnight.
So what do you remember about that?
He came to me and he said, I got to leave the band. And I said, you know, it hadn't quite blown up yet, but it was pretty obvious that it was going to. And I said, Jeff, like, if you hold on for a year, you'll be able to leave with money in the bank. You know, we didn't have any money. We were all broke as hell. And I said, it's just about to pop, and you got to hang around, and you can leave in a year, and, you know, you'll leave with money in the bank. He said, I don't care about the money. I just need out. I want out. You know, again, the band was not equipped for success.
Yeah, my memories of Jeff are vague. They're not super strong. He laughed a lot. He was a funny
Yeah.
I remember that. He had sort of do you have like a weird teeth thing or something? Because I remember he had a sort of a sound to his laugh that was almost like you could hear the whistling through his teeth, you know, like I liked him. Like he was, for me, I mean, he was a pleasant guy to be around.
Yeah. Good guy, good bass player.
Yeah, good bass player, good guy. That's really about it. And of course, Rich is Rich Prisk, who also is deceased. So boy, not a lot of good luck with the bass players in that band.
Day-to-day manager is deceased as well.
Forgot about that. I mean, I didn't forget, but I forgot. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. That was a weird one too. So Steve worked with Ray and was a young guy. I mean, this isn't a guy, he died of lung cancer young.
35.
He was 35? Jesus. But it was asbestos. They figured out that they thought it was asbestos in the house he grew up in.
They suspect he was around asbestos as a kid. Yeah.
To me, the real breakup thing was the making of the third record, or the fourth record, I guess it depends if you count Ray Gun or whatever, but it was the Audio of Being. Mm-hmm. And that was a record that was made at the Warehouse. And
Armory and Warehouse, yeah.
But the memories I have, and where I'll never forget, was dropping by the Warehouse at some point, and there was actually a sign on the door of the studio saying, "Stay the out." Mm-hmm. Thinking Matt's handwriting. Mm-hmm. I remember sort of saying to someone like, "Who does this apply to?" Everyone. Me? Yeah, you too. So I wasn't welcome in the studio. And I was like, oh boy, this is not good.
Yeah, I think it mostly applied to me, actually.
Yeah, because you guys were fighting at that point, outwardly fighting. And
the band was ill-equipped for success.
It's funny, and I hope you don't mind me talking about this, but I recently had dinner with Warren Livesey, maybe 5 months ago, with Jennifer and I. Great dinner, catching up. And there was a bit of an email interaction between the three of us after that dinner. And I had mentioned in an email, like, geez, I after hanging out, I went and listened to Audio of Being for the first time in, I don't know, long time, and was struck by how good it was. I was like, now it's interesting and I would say this about the second organ record too. There are some records where you can hear the sound of a band breaking up. And that's one of them because I was sort of around enough to kind of go, oh, I remember Dave being upset that the guitar on there, like stuff like that, where it's just like, and it was painful. I mean, that was a very painful experience for all concerned. But it is funny. Like, have you listened to it at all? Like was the last time you listened to that album?
I've never listened to that record.
Since it was made?
Yeah. Mine is in shrink wrap.
Wow. And just because the experience was too painful? Yeah.
I mean, the thing is for a musician, the experience of making a record is very closely associated to the music, right? So if you have a terrible experience making a record, but it's a tremendous success, it doesn't make it any more pleasurable to listen to. The record was so painful to make that I find it unlistenable. I think I might be able to put it on now. I think it would be interesting to put it on now because I don't have any memory of the songs, right? Like I can't think of any. I can't remember any of the songs with. I can remember Truffle Pigs, but I don't think I remember any of the other.
Definitely
songs.
One of the best songs that band ever put out. It's an incredible song.
Yeah, I remember really.
Still an incredible song. Sort of a protest song.
Yeah.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great song. There's maybe 3 or 4 in there that I am like, that's as good as anything they did.
Yeah. Maybe I'll put it on. Maybe not.
Yeah. Do you listen to the other ones ever?
I don't turn it off if it comes on the radio. There's really only...
Everything's automatic.
Automatic gets played. Apparitions get played some. Time Bomb and Load Me Up. And those are all strong to me. And so I don't turn them off. Beautiful Midnight I put on, I think maybe on its 10-year anniversary. We're almost at 30 now. For me, I think that Giant is probably the high point of the band. I think that's the first song on Beautiful Midnight.
Oh, right.
I think that's probably the high point.
That's interesting.
I think it's kind of the...
That's funny because I wouldn't put that in my top 5.
Yeah, I think that one's a really, really great ensemble playing. It kind of sums up the sound of the band. It's got a great lyric. It's got a great melody. I love my guitar parts. I love Ian's drumming on it.
Yeah.
The intro that Matt came up with is brilliant. I love my guitar solo. Like everything about it is like, yeah, this is kind of the high point.
I always felt the albums were a little too long.
Yeah.
And so I have trouble sometimes, and I did at the time going from start to finish in a Matthew Good album. But I mean, I have a Spotify playlist that's got, the stuff and it's probably an album's worth, like for me, of like the stuff that bears repeated listening. Everything's Automatic, the hits off of Beautiful Midnight. I love the cover of Depeche Mode from Ray Gun.
Mm-hmm.
I really, those 3 songs I mentioned or 2 from Audio of Being. Suburbia,
mm-hmm.
which might be my favorite Matthew Good song.
Mm-hmm.
You like that song?
Yeah, Suburbia I like, yeah.
And that was always a funny song too, because it was the one song where Matt would put the guitar down and kind of lurch around the stage in an awkward it was always weird to see him without a guitar because he was awkward. Like he was sort of tentative and it was weird just watching. It was like you're watching somebody walk for the first time, And then he put the guitar on and it was just like,
back to rocking.
Yeah, back to rocking. Yeah. Exactly. So a couple more just quick memories about Matthew Good Band. One of my favorite memories is when you guys opened for The Who. The Who was the first band that mattered to me.
Oh, I just saw them this weekend.
Oh, Jen had got an offer at the last second. I heard it wasn't very good.
Oh, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it was heartwarming.
Heartwarming, yeah. I just heard it was a little
they're 80,
rough.
They're 80 and 81.
Yes.
They had a big band behind them. Daltrey sang great. Entwistle still windmilling, although it's not quite as wide.
Townsend.
Sorry, yes, Entwistle's dead. Sorry.
Yes.
Townsend's still windmilling, but it's not quite as wide. But, the material, the songs, like...
I saw them in 1980 here at the Pacific Coliseum, and it was, obviously Keith Moon had died, but it was Kenny Jones. Yeah. And it was, I think It's Hard was the album, which I still listen. I still think it's a really good album. Anyways, they were the first band that really mattered to me. It was the first band. Everybody's got that high school.
I loved them too.
I had the t-shirt and I was militant about it. And if you didn't like them, you were a loser. And, and so you guys got to open for them doing the Quadrophenia, that weirdo Quadrophenia thing that included, I was going to say the dearly departed Gary Glitter, but it's really his career that's been dearly departed ever since his pedophile charges. Is he alive? I think he may have died, actually. Yeah, I think he passed away. And Billy Idol was part of it. Mm-hmm. And so there we are backstage. And you guys open. And there we are backstage. And goddamn, it's like, you guys want to meet The Who? Do you want to meet the Who? Yeah. And you pulled me. You were so nice, but you pulled me into the line. He's like, wow, let's go meet The Who. So it's like, we're in a lineup, and I think it was the 3 of them. I think it was all 3. I don't remember Entwistle so well, but I definitely remember Daltrey and Townsend. Mm-hmm. And we get to shake hands with them, and they're talking to us a little bit. Do you remember what you said in my ear?
No,
you said, "Fucking idiot." I'm talking to Pete Townsend, and Dave kind of leans in and whispers, "Give me your card." Give him my. And I kind of looked at you like I was like, it confused me in the moment. I'm like, yeah, hey, Pete, in case you ever need anything, I'm here for you.
A low-level entertainment
Yeah, in Vancouver. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're going to need something like that one day.
That's
it was a good line. It was funny.
That's a good
but
one.
it was a thrill. I mean, that was a thrill.
Yeah.
I remember the show was kind of weird, and their show was kind of weird, and that was BC Place. It wasn't.
Was it BC Place? No, I don't think it was. I think it was Rogers.
Rogers? I thought it was BC Place.
No, I'll tell you. My memory of that show. I mean, there's a couple of memories. Number one is the first time playing in a hockey rink, and I remember when we went out for sound check, and I look, we're used to playing the Town Pump, right, where the drummer's right there and Matt's right there, and all of a sudden I'm like 50 feet from Matt, and 70 feet from Ian, and 100 feet from Jeff, and we're not on in-ears yet, so I've got a couple of wedges in front of me that I've only ever put vocals and maybe kick drum in. And now I've got to figure out how to
Everything.
put everything in so I
Yeah.
can play with the band. It was the weirdest experience for me. It's like, I was not used to that. And the other memory I had is it was 2 nights. And the second night we came off stage and I wheeled my amp out the back door of what was called Rogers then and loaded my amp into the back seat of my 2-door K car and drove up to the gate on Granville where DSK opened for Molly's
funny.
Revenge.
Oh, isn't that funny?
So I was double booked that night.
That's pretty funny.
So I missed the Who the second night to play with DSK.
Yeah. And I remember nothing about your show like that. I remember nothing about. I don't remember how you guys did. I don't remember what it was like. I just remember meeting the Who backstage.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was like. It was terrifying.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah.
I bet
He
it was
hates
terrifying.
Simkin. He hates Simkin. I hate Simkin.